But when you look at the creation story, it says that when we were made from the black mud, the hama, and the sao, the dry ringing clay, there was the ruhi that was blown into man and woman, and they was molded and perfected into shape. So there's an essence of divinity in us, but we don't become the embodiment of the creator. This is why pantheists, or what he's trying to run away from, this is why his pantheistic views will say that no, God is just in everything. But if we look at, you know, how if we're all sitting in our homes now, those homes have a structure to them. Somebody, some men, some women put the bricks together. They laid the sheetrock. They did all of that thing. They created the house. But that does not mean that they are absolutely the house. There is an essence of them being there as far as their energy was used to create the house, but they do not become the house. So my question to Sarah is, if you create a pen, the creator of the pen in the human realm, do the creator of the pen, does Mr. Big actually become the pen himself, although he created the pen?
The answer to that is no. And I'll explain why the answer to that is no. The answer to that is no, because the substances used to make the pen was separate from me, okay? So there is plastic and there is ink and there's probably metal in that pen. I am neither plastic, ink, or metal, okay? So if I create a pen, the pen is not part of me. However, when you go back to the beginning of creation, the one thing that was in existence, according to your understanding, was Allah. That was the only thing that existed, okay? So if Allah is the only thing that existed, where did everything come from, and what substance was used to create it?
Okay, you asking me? I can go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So what we're talking about, you can see on the periodic table, some of those things. So those elements are elements that was created in order to bring certain things into creation. So before I go and break that down even further.
Hold up.
Oh, no, sir. Let me finish breaking that down. Go ahead, man.
Did everything come from?
Okay, now be quiet so you can hear me. Okay. So the people can hear me as well. Thank you, sir. Now, I'm gonna go back. Follow me, intelligent people. When you look at the elements, for example, of the periodic table, for example, they are only elements. Those elements are combined in order to create something such as a pen, etc. So what he's trying to do is trick the people as if he can understand that intelligent designer or that intelligent mind that brought forth everything we see, everything, the solar system itself, everything that is perfectly moving and doing exactly what it's supposed to do according to the law of nature. That is something that is put in place. That is something that did not just happen to be. So when we're talking about creation, you have animate things, you have things that are inanimate. So if something that is animate, for instance, something that is physical in its being, something that is living and breathing creates something inanimate, that living thing is not going to be considered, even though it created a rock, for example, that is an inanimate object. The living thing that creates the rock is not actually going to become a part of the rock. So the answer to, hold on. So the answer to the question is simply this. The answer to the question is simply this. You have certain organic materials that was created, such as hydrogen and 2 oxygens. You will have hydrogen, you will have oxygens. Until those chemical processes is brought together, that's when you will get water. Now, the science is so deep that man himself, although how intelligent, he cannot create water himself, although we see it in reality.
Bashir, stop. Where did everything come from? Can you please answer that question and stop going on filibuster? Where did everything come from? If Allah is the only thing in existence, where did everything come from?
All right, first thing, call me Imam Bashir. Don't address me as Bashir. I'm not your friend right now. Imam Bashir. That's what I'm going to answer to.
You're not my Imam, though.
Hold on. Imam Bashir is what I'm going to answer to. That's my name.
Okay, now you're going to start. You're going to start with your nonsense.
You said it earlier. You said it earlier, but don't change it up because that could become disrespectful. Give me my title.
Where did everything come from?
Let's get to the answers. Let's get to the answers, people. Let's keep it short.
I'm gonna let that one slide. But what I said, it comes from the Supreme Creator, as I said, and I explained the processes that were used in order to bring things into life. Period.
Fantastic. So it comes from, so the Supreme Creator, as you say, is the source of everything, yeah? Okay, so if the source of everything comes from the Creator, how is everything not still a part of that source?
I already answered that for you.
No, you did not.
You may not understand it, but the people that all right, I'm gonna tell you one more time. I'm gonna say it one more time.
I'll go back.
I'm gonna tell you one more time that this supreme intellect, this supreme mind.
Listen, people, remember we can't like speak over each other.
Listen, man, let me speak. I'll go back because he likes to go on filibusters, man. It's just ridiculous. I'm saying to you, yeah, with using within the parameters of what we know makes sense to us as human beings, what we know makes sense to us, we have to work within those parameters. We can't speak about things that don't make sense to us because then we're speaking about Fasuzi Fasazi, whatever that is. What we know makes sense is that things come from other things. Everything that we said, you'd used a pen, okay? So a pen came from plastic, metal, ink. Okay, there were elements to create plastic, metal, ink. So everything comes from a pre-existing material or substance. Everything that we know of comes from a pre-existing substance or material. The only substance or material that was in existence, according to your understanding, was Allah. The only thing. And then Allah created everything else. So we come from the pre-existing substance, using what we know makes sense. We come from the pre-existing substance or material that you will call Allah. We have to. There's no other place for us to come from.
Okay. Now, he wants to push this idea because this is a trick. Now, this is a trick on a small human thinking and not a very logical one and rational one and not applying any mathematics or science to it. Before, he's talking about a reality in a realm in our paradigm and what we so-called know and understand now. But things that were that we understand now was not understood 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. So he's saying it as if we're not still on we're not still learning as times go on. In fact, it takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations to make 1 or 2 or 3 pure so-called scientific facts. So we're dealing with a creator. We're dealing with an intellect that created the earth. So when people like him wants to put their own type of logic, which they're not really using because nature shows you exactly what is happening. Nature shows you that there's stars, there's sun, there's moon, there's grass, there's trees, etc. And all of those things is not something that just came out of nowhere or always was. So he wants us to believe that if I have hydrogen and if I have oxygen, for example, that water always was. But we know by science, if we look at a planet like Mars, we see it's a planet and we see that it does not have the things that will sustain life as we know it in this realm, but it's still there. We know that there's millions and trillions of galaxies. We know that there's millions and trillions of galaxies.
Because
the fact remains is that he's going to try to tell us that no, everything has to be developed and brought from everything. That's not true.
Okay, you keep speaking about things that are irrelevant to the conversation. Okay, you said I'm trying to use my logic to understand God. The only logic we have as human beings is our own. Would you like me to use another type of logic? Should I use my elbows logic? Or should I use my nose's logic? Or should I use my ears logic? The only logic we have to use, Imam, yeah, even though you're not my Imam, that's the last time I'm calling you Imam. From here on out, I'm not even addressing your name, okay? The only thing we can do as human beings is use our brain. It's the only thing we can do. But now you're telling me, just in my opening statement, I said that religious people want us to stop thinking. and start